Hi, it's Lynn Kenny. Thank you so much for joining us to chat a little bit about musical thinking and 70 play activities. So this is the video that accompanies 70 play activities. It's video 1, and I'm just going to describe to you a little bit about musical thinking, what musical thinking is, why it's the direct instruction method that we use with children in schools and classrooms and clinics, and then I have a few more videos as well to go into greater depth. All right? So 70 Play Activities is the book that Rebecca Camizio and I just wrote. It was illustrated by Megan Garcia, and Musical Thinking was the book that came out in, I think, May. And it is the direct instruction method that has the sequencing activities and the love notes and some of the activities that you can do in order to enhance executive function skills and social emotional skills with the children in your classrooms or practice. So, what's musical thinking? Musical thinking is a cognitive empowerment strategy utilizing music, movement, and rhythm. Musical thinking teaches children how they think and learn, helping them gain better control over their approach to daily tasks and activities related to learning and behavior. So, musical thinking basically is the music based direct instruction method that we developed over interacting with hundreds of children in order to help them with sequencing and memory and inhibition. It's a pretty magical thing. I adore doing it with the children. We can do it, you can do it with children one-on-one, you can do it with small groups, you can do it with entire classrooms. I've actually led an orchestra of people, over 200 people in Canada using musical thinking. So it's really, really robust. Now, what are the components? As I said, it's kind of a rich activity. It's very deep, and you can be super light about it and simply teach children tempo and rhythm using quick Rick and slow mo, or you can go all the way into cognitive cueing, cognitive conversations, direct instruction, and more. So we begin by teaching children tempo and rhythm. Then we can do cognitive cueing, you can do compositions, you can do cognitive exercise, direct instruction, or have cognitive conversations. The tools that we use are the love notes, the cueing cards, and some adorable stories. So, our motivation is to teach children how they think, not simply what to think. Now, the children that I interact with, and this might be similar in your classroom and clinical practice, the children often have executive function challenges, they've got motor timing challenges, they're diagnosed with learning uniquenesses, they might have attention deficit disorder, and they're used to not doing well, quite frankly. They're used to not doing well on tests. They're used to kind of getting in trouble because they don't turn their homework in on time. And they're used to being told what to do. So during the years that I've been volunteering at our local school, and then, of course, working with children in my own clinical practice, teaching math and reading, I've really started to understand from their perspective how much more empowering it is when they become cognitive scientists who are helping their brains enhance their cognitive skills instead of being in the position of being told over and over again, oh, that's not right, or you need to do that differently, or, you've got another poor grade on a test. I mean, the empathy factor, of course, is enormous, and musical thinking is a terrific solution. So, how did it evolve? I was playing with children at the local elementary school, and I observed delays in approach, organization, pace, rhythm, timing, and fluency. That is, numerical fluency as well as reading fluency, even narrative language fluency. So we started out playing in the library, and I've told this story a few times before. Um, One of the wonderful first grade teachers said, hey, I've got a bunch of gifted kids in my first grade class. They're ready to learn multiplication. It's just the beginning of the school year. Everyone else is learning addition. and they're bored and, slightly mischievous because their brains are needing stimulation. Will you take them to the library and teach them multiplication facts? So we did it that. We did it on a Tuesday, we did it on a Thursday, and by the end of the second Thursday, I was like, are you guys bored? Because I was bored. Worksheets, paper, pencil, sitting around the table. And I said, okay, meet me on behind the school, really close to the playground next Tuesday, and I'll bring my poly spots and my balls, and we'll learn math differently. And so I got feedback from the teachers that not only were these children's math skills, their numeracy skills improving, but their reading was improving as well. And I was interested in why. And I started studying more of the motor movement research, the cognitive exercise research, all of which is cited in 70 play activities as well as musical thinking. And really started to understand that we layer learning on top of our movement. Remember, our brains are built from the bottom up. And so we want to get solid consistency in our rhythm and movement in our lower body so that we can literally hang our cognitive knowledge on top of the motor movement skills. So it was very fun because children started making up their own games, and then Megan started started teaching the children musical notes and counting in measures and applying counting in measures to reading and math. And then Megan, of course, named all the characters. Every time I have a conversation with her, she names another character. So that's basically how it evolved, by playing with beautiful, beautiful children. Now, there are many points of entry. So this is kind of cool because you can adapt it to your own personal style and to the needs of the children. So I'm going to go through each of these areas in the videos. But essentially, we always begin with the rhythm, tempo, and timing. So pretty much anytime I meet a new student, I march with them together, usually facing one another initially. And I want to see, can they keep a beat? Can they walk with me? 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. It's a wonderful way to engage with the children. It's a great way for me to see, to observe their tempo, rhythm, and timing skills, because the literature is really starting to tell us, even though this is a newer body of literature, that children who have learning challenges, executive function challenges, difficulty with inhibition, often have rhythm, tempo, and timing deficiencies or delays or challenges. Now, then we use the love notes, which I'll also go into. We've got 4 love notes, and they represent musical notes. We have Tinkerbell, who's our whole note, and Slow Mo, who's our half note, Quick Rick, who's our quarter note, and then we have Best Rest. We know she's not a note, but we made her a note because Best Rest helps us to consolidate the information that we're learning. Then we have cognitive exercise, and essentially that is when we layer cognition on top of the movement. So it's more advanced skill. We don't do it right away. I always want to establish the rhythm, tempo, and timing first. Let's get the beat. Let's keep the beat. Let's feel what rhythm is. Let's even chat about the definitions of rhythm, tempo, and timing. We do all of this with the children, and it's all in the book so that you can do it as well. So cognitive exercise would be, as an example, if we're going to learn our vocabulary words, then we're going to use slow-mo because we're learning, and we're going to walk slowly. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to layer the information in order to make it knowledge on top of the beat. So let's say in the musical thinking book, I think we do concentrate. So we do con-cen-trate. Con-cen-trate. So you can read all about cognitive exercise as well as the research behind it in the 70 Play Activities book. Now, regarding using cueing to teach executive function skills, remember, we want to empower the children to feel masterful and competent. We want to take kids who come in not feeling very good about their learning, feeling like they're having challenges with math and reading or spelling or writing, and we want to say, hey, you are the very best coach of your brain. You know your brain best. You know how to educate your brain. So we're going to empower you with these cognitive cueing cards so that you can understand what executive function skills are. We call them cognitive skills. You're going to understand as we're working together what they are called, what they do, and how you can intentionally call specific skills up in order to use them. And I go through lots of different examples. Attention is something we really dive into. We literally teach the children in 70 play activities all the different pieces of attention. You know, what is a learning attention? What is selecting attention? What is attending? What is drift? What is re-alerting? What is reselecting? So that's all in the book, and that's the kind of cognitive cueing component. How do we use these cards in order to make the children cognitive scientists? Then we go deeper. Once they understand rhythm, tempo, once they've met the love notes, once we've turned them into cognitive scientists, then we might even go deeper and, well, we always do, not we might, we always do, have cognitive conversations with these beautiful children. We want them to identify what is it that I need to do right now? You know, what is the behavioral expectation? What's the academic task or challenge? What piece of it is hard for me? What skill, specifically, what cognitive skill or executive function am I needing? And what's going to be my approach? How am I going to coach my brain in the very best way and pull up and apply that cognitive skill? And then we have musical thinking compositions. They're complicated and fun and wonderful and a bit dancey. And the reason they developed is because I had these 8 and 9-year-olds who were twice gifted. So they were in the gifted academic category in the school district with whom I work. And they had learning challenges. And so these are children who really wanted something interesting and catchy, and they wanted to develop their own activities, which we always encourage across play math, musical thinking, 70 play activities. We're always talking about adaptability and flexibility. And we let the children, create activities. So the musical thinking compositions are where we'll do things like in the measures, which you'll see in the book. We can have the children write out using, as an example, Q for quarter note, H for half note, W for whole note. We can have them actually write out measures of music and then add things to that music, whether it's clapping, snapping, marching, being a giraffe, being a lion. We've got just a whole, bevy of different activities that the children have brought front of mind for us. And so that's what musical compositions are. Musical compositions are when you're really into musical thinking and you're using it and your kids are growing and they're interested in creating new activities and moving and being interesting. That's kind of the advanced component of musical thinking. Those are the compositions. Okay, so I told you about tempo and rhythm. So we define tempo for the children. We talk with them about rhythm, what rhythm is. Tempo, remember, is pace. So we're thinking, how fast are we moving? Are we going 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4? Or are we going 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4? Or are we using Tinkerbell to think it out? Are we going 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4? And then we tell the children that rhythm is everything in between the beats. So if a beat is like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, then the rhythm is the movement in between the beats. And they love that. They add their hips, they add their shoulders, sometimes they add really sweet cha-cha or salsa moves at the bottom of the beats. So tempo is the pace at which you're moving, and it's related to the specific downbeat, and then rhythm is everything in between. It's all the extra movements. And I'll go into this more fully. I'm going to do we have another video on the love notes. And there are the love notes. So we've got another video on them. I already told you there's 4 of them. Tinkerbell, Quick Rick, Slow Mo, and Best Rest, and they all have different purposes. So Tinkerbell helps us think things out. Slow Mo helps us encode. Best Rest helps us store or consolidate. So Best Rest is the character who kind of transforms information into knowledge. And then Quick Rick is for recalling. So in the video on the love notes, you'll see that more in depth. Cognitive cueing, as I told you, is telling the children exactly what the cognitive skills are and then helping them choose which skills does their brain need at any given time and how are they going to apply those skills. I want to say one other thing about cognitive cueing. Cognitive cueing can also be the language or sound that you add to the learning experience in order to enter the brain in a different direction. So recently I was doing musical thinking with a 6-year-old, and when I would do the marching to make sure that she could get the beat, 1 2 3 4 2 2 3 4, the cognitive cueing component in that example is the counting, and it's very interesting. You've got to really pay attention to the children that you're working with, because some children are going to do better just watching you, just marching with you, not having a lot of sound, having simple visual plus motor input, and that's how they're going to learn, especially initially, best. Other children do better where you're counting out the sounds, and this child was really fascinating because her mother intuitively knew that she was going to do better counting. And as I was observing and moving with this child and just kind of taking in the initial data, the wonderful mother jumped in. 1 2 3 4. And she kept saying 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. I scale up because I want them to learn about measures, but that we can talk about. That's more of an advanced concept at another time. So it's very cool that sometimes a child's friend will know best, sometimes a child's mother or father will know best, or a grandfather, or a teacher. They'll know intuitively that sometimes kids need counting or cueing or clapping or snapping in order to help them feel the beat. So that's another type of cognitive cueing. Here's an example of one of the think cards, which are our cueing cards. And these are not in the book. You can get them on my website. I actually made these for a talk that I did a long time ago, not that long ago, 2015. And basically we have these think cards. So you have all the definitions in the book though, so you could make cards like this. And I'm going to tell you that think cards evolved because I was doing direct executive function instruction with children at the school, teaching them what is information? How is information different from knowledge? Why does your brain need to rest in order to consolidate the knowledge? That sort of thing. And we would just take index cards, and I would just have the children write down how we were defining the cognitive skill. And eventually what I did was I made the think cards for some teachers at an international conference. But I have to say, well, you're welcome to get the think cards and you've got the definitions in the book. It's cool to make your own. It's really a great experience for the children to make your own. More on cognitive cueing. So this is an example where if we're practicing listening to the teacher, we might be saying, well, what's the big picture of this task? And then what are the different parts of the task? Let's look at our cognition cards, our think cards, or let's use the definitions in the 70 Play Activities book and identify what skills we're needing. So cognitive cueing is kind of an evolution of a Dawesian concept, but that basically said the first thing you need is your simultaneous processing, looking at the big picture, and then you need your sequential processing. What are the individual steps in the task? And in musical thinking, we've got a whole sequencing section that is fabulous, that it really helps children understand when you've got a big activity such as listening to the teacher, what are actually the scaffolded skills underneath that? What are the individual components of the task? And then, as I said earlier, compositions are like this. You can write quarter note, half note, half note, half note, half note, half note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note. Or it can be quick, quick rick, slow mo. Slow mo, slow mo, slow mo. How does it go? So you can see that it's advanced and it's exciting and the children love it and they can apply this. They can begin to, like as an example, recall and produce some of the information that they've learned based on their writing out of the composition. So let me do this. Let me try this again. I'll do it slower. So remember, slow is how you learn. Slow is how you encode. And I'll go into this more deeply when I talk about slow-mo and quick rick. But let's see if I can do this. Quick, half. Okay, so we've got quick rick, slow mo, slow mo, slow mo, slow mo, slow mo, quick rick, yeah, I did it. So so you can do this as well, because the kids can do something like, as an example, let's skip count our twos. They can go 2, 4, 6, pause, 8, pause, 10, pause, 12, pause, 14, pause, 16, 18, 20, 22. And they love it. So that's an example of the compositions. And then cognitive exercises where you're layering knowledge on top of the movement. So to give you an example of reading, let's say you're spelling cat, C-A-T. So you've got the 4 notes. Cat, C-A-T. Now, if you teach phonics, you've done this a million times. What's really fun about musical thinking is that it deepens and enriches the learning experience for the children, because you're using quarter notes, you're using half notes, and when you really want to take your time and think it out, you're using whole notes. 1, 2, 3, 4.